Welcome to the WalterFootball.com podcast. This is episode 276. We're talking about our top 2020 NFL draft betting props. Joined once again by Jacob Kamiker from NBC Sports Boston. Jacob, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm stoked to be getting back into some actual betting that's not on, random games of blackjack that you can do online or just anything sports betting I will take right now, just excited to be near the draft.
So you're not betting on League of Legends or anything. That's sadly that's kind of what I've been doing. So it's been on DraftKings at least. I haven't bet the actual games. So I've had players named like Peanut and Crying in my lineups.
Yeah, I played one lineup and it did the exact opposite of what I thought it was going to do. I think we both played a similar, if not the same, lineup that night. And after that, I was like, all right, I really have no idea what I'm doing. So I had to tap out of that. But I've been trying to find any way to get my sports betting, daily fantasy stuff in. So it's going to be fun. There's a lot of stuff in the draft this year. It could be unpredictable. So I think we can take advantage of some of it and see if we can make some money.
Yeah, exactly. There's no NBA or baseball to bet on. So if you don't want to bet on League of Legends like I do every night, you can maybe take these recommendations. I came up with 10 betting props that I found. All of them are on Bovada except for one. There was one on Bookmaker that was slightly better than the one I found on Bovada, so I'll mention that. I know you said between 10 and 15, right? So you can, I guess we'll just alternate, and because you might have a couple more than I do, I guess you can go first.
Yeah. So I've got like some that are like I picked two for one prop. So like the first one I've got is the first three picks of the draft, how they might play out. We actually had a question about this last week, or something similar about like what are the odds that the first three picks are quarterbacks, and that I would not do that, but we're pretty sure it's going to be Joe Burrow and Chase Young off the board with the first two picks, barring something majorly surprising in the next 7 days. So pretty much if you can bet on the top three picks and have those two guys and then someone else coming in at 3, you're going to have a chance to cash out that bet. So the two that I like from there, I have one that goes Burrow, Young, and then Tua Tagovailoa at plus 180. That one I like because I think there's a good chance that a team could trade up to get Tua. I'd also would like it to an extent if Justin Herbert was the option, but I'm not positive that either the Dolphins or the Chargers would jump up for him per se, because I think if the Dolphins stay put, they'll probably get Herbert. If the Chargers like Tua more, they would jump to get him. So I like that one. And then the other one from this that I like is Burrow, Young, and then Isaiah Simmons. This one is a plus 800 bet. A lot of people have been mocking Jeff Okudah to the Lions at number 3. In my latest mock, I actually have them taking Isaiah Simmons, and it's totally possible that they could do that and trade down. But I just think that Simmons fits exactly what Detroit wants to do on their defense. They've added athletic linebackers like Jamie Collins in free agency, but they're still missing that one versatile playmaker. I think Simmons fits that, and I think if they get stuck at 3 and don't feel like they can trade down, they may still take him. So at plus 800 odds, I'm willing to pay a little bit into that, maybe half a unit to see if we can get some extra value there. I don't know if you have thoughts on those or if you agree with that, or if you'd rather just do the one with Okudah.
I like it. I actually went to Simmons as well, but I have the lines trading down. So I read your mock draft. It was great, by the way. Check out Jacob's mock draft at Jacob Kamiker on Twitter. You can find the link there or on Rigo's Rag. It's a great mock draft. I enjoyed it very much. So I like the Simmons one. You said plus 800, right? I think that's a good price.
Yeah, that's why. Like, if it was at like plus 400 or something much lesser, I wouldn't do it. But we're getting pretty good juice. So if you do half a unit on that, you can make out like a bandit if they do end up not moving down and taking Simmons. So that was my logic there.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's more likely that they do move down, but if they don't move down, I think, plus 800 for Simmons makes a lot of sense. And before I give mine, I should say, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe or hit the like button. That would help us out a lot. Or if you want to just send this out to someone who likes football, that would help us out immensely. All right, so my first one, I have two that are kind of highly priced. They have to pay a lot to win a little bit. But I think they're pretty much locks. So I wanted to include them. My other ones are almost like underdogs or like minus 145-ish, except for one. But these first two are pretty high priced. So the first one I looked at was second overall pick, Chase Young, minus 600 on Bovada. I think that's pretty much locked in. Charlie Campbell reported back in February that the Redskins were not going to trade down. They love Chase Young. Then it came out this week. I forget who reported it, but someone said that, I think it was Peter King. He said that Ron Rivera was basically like locked in the Chase Young. Like he's not going to take anyone else. Ron Rivera doesn't trade down. He loves Young. I think that's a lock. So I said it's minus 600 in Bovada, but then I looked at Bookmaker. So on Bookmaker, you have this prop. It says, will the Redskins trade down from the number 2 pick? No is minus 550. So minus 550, slightly better than minus 600. So I think it's pretty much the same. So that's like one of the highly priced ones I like.
Yeah, that one's basically free money. Like you said, Ron Rivera doesn't trade down in the first round. I think since 2011, I think the Panthers never traded down in the first round with him in charge. And he tends to take the best player available if there's a player on the board that he loves, and doesn't matter positional need. We saw him take Vernon Butler when they didn't need a defensive tackle. That obviously didn't work out, but same idea. So I love the Chase Young one. I like the no trade down one even more because it's, you get a little more bang for your buck. And even if they somehow surprise, they may not trade down. So I think that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So what's your second one?
My second one, we're going a little bit high priced here. We got first tight end drafted. Now, Cole Kmet's the heavy favorite here, but I think that a world exists where Adam Troutman could be the first tight end off the board. And his odds to be the first tight end off board are plus 650. But here's my thought process on this. He's a dude, Troutman is, that the Patriots would love, and the Patriots might trade down in the first round. In fact, I think they're highly likely to pick up a couple of second-round picks or a late first and a second round if they can. So I look at Troutman as a guy that they could target in that second round if they get a second-round pick. I think some other teams will like him as well. And I think Kmet's overall the better prospect. But Troutman was good at the combine. He wasn't athletically good, but in the drills, he was just really, really solid. He's a willing blocker. And, it's a weak tight end class. Like different decision makers are going to have different thoughts of what they want to do. And typically in weaker classes, we see a lot more fluctuation in the rankings of who's number one on any board. So I like Troutman at plus 650. I think it's a pretty solid bet because him and Kmet are so closely ranked in a lot of rankings. And I think even you have Troutman above Kmet in your rankings.
Yeah, Charlie Campbell reported that the teams like Adam Troutman a lot, and seems like he's going to be the first tight end chosen. That's actually one of my top 10 props that I have as well. Adam Troutman plus 650 on Bovada, like you said, to be the first tight end chosen. I like that a lot. I mean, plus 650 seems like a good price. If it was plus 400, I would even have some consideration. But plus 650 is just seems great. I mean, maybe some team like Thaddeus Moss or Cole Kmet, like you said, or one of the other guys. There are a bunch of tight ends who could be the first chosen. But I think Troutman is the best of the bunch, and it seems like teams like him as well. So yeah, that's one of my ones. So the other high priced one I have. This is even greater than minus 600. This is minus 900, but this seems like such a lock, and it's kind of like the first one. It says Tua Tagovailoa over 2.5 minus 900. So it's like I don't like where is he gonna go in the top two? It's not gonna be number one because that's gonna be Joe Burrow. It's not gonna be number two because it's gonna be Chase Young. So it just seems like free money, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely free money. I mean, there's no way that the Redskins are going to take Tua at this point, or I don't think so. It would be a massive surprise if they did that. So I would be all over that too. It's a little bit, lean for my taste, but if you have the money to go for it, you're going to make free money on that for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of tight ends, we just did the Troutman. Andrew asks, could the Pats take Albert O since they look past maturity issues like with Hernandez?
So that last point, overlooking maturity issues with Hernandez is a good reason that they're trying, I think, not to take players with maturity issues. They kind of had a period of time where they took on like veterans that were character concerns or some immature players, and that actually coincided. It was shortly after the passing of Myra Kraft, who was in some ways like the soul of the Patriots front office for a bit, and Robert Kraft kind of decided to take more chances after that. Some of them didn't pan out, so I could see them being interested in Okuwebunam, but I would probably say they'd be more apt to take a guy like Troutman, who's going to be a solid all-around guy and doesn't come with any of the off-field maturity baggage.
Yeah, that definitely sounds right to me. So Andrew brings up a comment about my first two. He says the Dolphins, I guess it says, offer the Redskins a boatload, and then the Redskins have no choice but to trade down. So I don't think that's going to happen. First of all, Charlie reported that the Redskins love Chase Young and also the Peter King thing. As I said, the second thing is the Dolphins love both quarterbacks. Like they're willing to take both. So like I don't see why they would trade up all the way to 2. If they trade up, I see it's being the 4. Like maybe flip a 5th rounder to the Giants, and the Giants just get a 5th rounder for free. Maybe they trade up to 3, but I think the Chargers do that more likely than the Dolphins do. And even if they move up to 2, I don't see them. I don't think it's a guarantee that they take Tua Tagovailoa. Like maybe they take Herbert. So. I think Tua Tagovailoa over 2.5 minus 900 is very safe. More safe than the Chase Young, because they're kind of the same thing. So, all right, what's your next one?
All right, my next one. This one's a little bit shorter money, but still an underdog. First receiver drafted. Bovada has Jerry Jeudy as the favorite there. I actually like CeeDee Lamb at plus 180. I just think there's a chance that, like, if the Jets or the Raiders go for a receiver, I think Lamb could be the guy they like. In my latest mock, I had Lamb as the first receiver off the board at 12 and Jeudy off the board 1 pick later. So it's really a coin flip. But I think because Lamb's a bit bigger and has a little bit of a different skill set, he can kind of attack those jump balls, but is still great after the catch and has solid enough athleticism. I think that's going to push him ever so slightly ahead of Jeudy, who's an unbelievable route runner and is, I think, for my money, going to be the best receiver in this class. I just think he comes off the board after Lamb, because I could even see the Jaguars going for Lamb because they've had success with another bigger dude in DJ Chark, who's much faster, more athletic. But if they want another big receiver, given how Minshew played with Chark last year, Lamb could be their guy at 9. So I just think right now there's a few more landing spots that Lamb makes sense for, in my opinion, in the top 15 than Jeudy. Though I love Judy's fit with the 49ers and actually have I do have this prop listed. I think the 49ers at plus 400 to draft Jerry Jeudy is a really good bet, because if he's on the board, I don't think they can pass on him.
It's funny you mentioned 2 that I have. So we're thinking we're on the same wavelength here. So let's take the Lamb one first. So before I go on, like, I'm kind of curious, like, when did you look at these props? Because I have a different number on Lamb, so I'm kind of curious, like, when you found this.
I looked at these 4 hours ago, I believe.
I feel like I did too. I think it was at like 2:00 or 3. So maybe an hour before you. So I have Lamb at plus 160 and you have plus 180. So I wonder if they moved it to plus 180. So that's even better. I like that at plus 160. So I'll definitely take the plus 180.
It's also possible I could have misread the prop, because I was on my phone doing this and taking notes on a notepad in my phone. So I was going back and forth a lot, but I agree. I still like both prices.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're both great. I think Jeudy, like you said, is the favorite on Bovada, but I think Lamb is more likely to be chosen first. It seems like the Raiders like him more than Jeudy. And Charlie reported that some teams think that Lamb is going to go in the top 10, where he hasn't heard the same thing about Jeudy. I wonder if it's one of the teams in the teens that really wants Lamb and is thinking, oh no, we're not going to get this guy. Usually when that happens, that the player does seem to fall to them, but I don't see Jeudy going before 12. Like I don't think the Jaguars take him. I don't think the Cardinals take him. I think the Jets go tackle. Charlie, by the way, posted an article today, a report about how the Jets are likely to go tackle at 11. So that's a spot that's out for Jeudy as well. So I do like. I do like Lamb a lot. I like the Lamb one more than the Jeudy one, the plus 400. I wish this were like 5-1, 6-1, but 4-1 is still pretty good. I think it seems like the 49ers love Jeudy a lot. And, if he's there at 13, I think he will be the pick unless they're offered like a major, trade haul to move down. So, I'm definitely on board with both.
Yeah, and you mentioned a major trade haul. One thing I could see happening, and is another reason why I don't think the Jeudy thing to the 49ers is any sure money. I think that if you have one of the top 4 offensive tackles on the board at 13, the Dolphins could call up the 49ers and say hey, we want to go say it's Andrew Thomas before the Bucs can get him because we need to protect whoever our quarterback is. And with the 49ers lacking picks outside the first round, I think they may, jump all over a chance to move down 5 spots and pick up a mid-rounder. But yeah, I still think Judy's a good bet for the 49ers because if they keep that pick, I think they go with him.
Yeah, I like that too. That makes sense to me. I can see Minnesota doing that too. Minnesota has 12 picks in this draft. So they have the ammunition to move up. They had the 2 first rounders as well. They need a left tackle because Riley Reif is I believe he's like $10 million and they barely have any money. So I think they want to get a cheaper tackle, and that's the way to do it. And they can move up. So I think Minnesota's in play to move up as well. Luke GS, I saw a report from Peter King that said 40% of teams have Henderson rated higher than Okudah. What are the chances that Okudah drops out of the top 10? That'd be wild if that happens.
Yeah, I don't think Okudah drops out of the top 10. I could see him going lower than people suspect. I think in my last mock, I had him at 7 to the Panthers. I just think teams always need cornerbacks, and Okudah was really good at Ohio State. And, we're getting to the point in the draft where we've had the combine, we've had all the off-field testing and stuff. And that's where sometimes the tape is ignored a little bit because CJ Henderson was much better at the combine than Okudah was. But I still think that Okudah is going to go top 10. Teams just need cornerbacks. And I can't imagine that he would get through the Panthers, Cardinals, Jaguars, and maybe even the Browns at 10. I think the Browns would have other options that they may consider over him, but I just think there are too many. It's a question worth asking, though, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. If there's something about Okudah we don't know about that teams know, like some kind of off the field issue that hasn't been reported or some injury that they're concerned about, I think that's like the one way Okudah drops out of the top 10. But otherwise, I don't think so. I mean, he's just so talented. I think it's crazy that teams have Henderson over Okudah. That's crazy to me. Okudah is so talented. He could legitimately go top 3. But like you said, that like Carter of 7, 8, 9, like the Panthers, Cardinals, and Jaguars, they're all desperate for corners. So I think if Jacksonville's looking at Okudah at 9, how do you pass up on that as a replacement for Ramsey or 8, like Arizona? That's where I have Okudah right now. Patrick Peterson's entering his contract year. They needed a cornerback across from him for a long time. It just makes so much sense. And they already addressed their offense in the offseason in the free agency. They re-signed their 2 tackles and they got DeAndre Hopkins in the trade. So they have to take care of their defense, which was just awful against the pass last year. So and then you mentioned as well, Carolina, they lost James Bradbury, so they need a new number 1 corner. So I think I'd be shocked if Okudah falls out of the top 10. We have 2 other questions. Will Bill Belichick and the Patriots, are they enamored with Justin Herbert? That's your account.
I would say probably not. They may like his skill set, but the Patriots don't often let information get through to people. They will leak, or some stuff will leak out. And if you look at over the course of the years, the players that they visited with and interview, a minuscule percent of them actually get drafted by the team. I think there's a chance they could like Herbert and his skill set, but I don't think that he's really in play for them because they don't have enough mid-round draft capital. They don't have a second-round pick, and they don't want to trade a future first to move up to get him. I think they're far more likely to stick with Stidham at quarterback and draft a mid-round guy like Jake Fromm or James Morgan to compete with him and give them some young depth. My money's still on Fromm. I've been saying that for months. Ben Volen actually wrote a piece in the Boston Globe about how Jake Fromm checks off all the boxes for the Patriots. So I very much agree with that at this point in time.
Yeah, I trust Volen's opinion. He's a great Patriots reporter. I agree. The Patriots aren't a team, like you said, that has leaks. Like they're the ones gathering their information. Like if you're a Game of Thrones fan, imagine like Varys and Littlefinger don't have things leaking out. Like they're the ones getting stuff in, and they're like that's what Belichick is. Like he's the one getting information. And then Kenny asks, "What's up, Kenny? Which team is most likely to move up for a receiver, and why is it the Eagles? Why is it the Eagles? Because they need a number one receiver. So I feel like they can, with the extra compensatory picks they can get up to get CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy or maybe even Henry Ruggs out. I think if Lamb and Jeudy go before the 12 or earlier, I think that they shouldn't move up. But if they can move up to like 13, I think they should for one of the elite receivers.
Yeah, I could definitely see them moving up to that 13th pick again. Like the 49ers don't have a lot of picks outside of the first round. And if they're maybe not sold on Jeudy or Jeudy comes off the board and they think that they can get a good receiver and some extra talent, they can move down. And then the Eagles could jump in and take a guy like Lamb or Jeudy. And I think that would be a massive upgrade for them because that's their biggest need. I think I agree with this, though. I think the Eagles would be the team most likely to move up for a receiver because I don't really think any other team is transformed that much by a top tier wideout, except for maybe the Packers, but I don't know if they have the ammunition to get up there.
Yeah, I agree. And like Minnesota comes to mind, but they have so many needs. I think they have to address tackle before receiver. It's like, and it'd be weird to trade up for a receiver when they just traded a receiver for the first round pick. Like that just seems odd to me. I think they take someone like Hamler in the second round. Like I think that's where Minnesota goes. So I do think it's the Eagles. Rick says we should have our masks on. If you're in your house, you shouldn't have your mask on unless you're sick and you're trying to prevent other people from being sick, but we're fine. I hope so, at least.
Yeah, Rick, you want to see my beautiful face. You miss me, don't you, man?
Exactly. How are we streaming multiple cameras? It's a site called StreamYard.com. It's been great so far. It's been great. All right, let's get to let's get another odd pick you like.
Okay, let's see what's next on my list of props. All right, here's another one involving an Oklahoma player. I've got two of them related to Jalen Hurts. So Bovada has an over-under on his draft position of 62.5, meaning that would be very late second round. I like the over on that, and I like the straight-up bet of Jalen Hurts going in the third round. They have a round-by-round breakdown. So it's over 62.5 at minus 105, and third round is plus 110. I'm not going to bet a ton on either of these because we're not getting great juice on them, but I think it's my whole thought throughout this process is that Jalen Hurts is an interesting developmental quarterback, and he could play a Taysom Hill-like role for a team right away if he's willing to do that while he develops off field as a passer. But I don't think that a team's going to spend a second round pick on him just because he's so raw in the pocket. I don't know. Maybe a team like the Packers, if they think like Aaron Rodgers has 2 or 3 more years left, they could go with Hurts. But I still think he's highly likely to be a third round pick. So I'm going to bet on that and just see if that actually comes to fruition. I think either way with the over, I think it's more likely that he would somehow fall to the beginning of day 3 and like the first few picks there, then go in the second round. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And I was looking at that. I didn't list it as one of my top 10 props, but because I have a feeling that some team's going to take him in early second round, and I'm going to just like lose my mind and grade it as a Millen, or not a Millen now, I guess an O'Brien now. I feel like that's going to happen. Like some team's just going to like play it safe and be like, oh, this is a good guy. Like he has a high floor, like low ceiling, but like maybe we can make him out to be a decent quarterback in the future. Like I think that could happen, but I do think that he deserves to go in like round 4. Like that's where he should be. But I just think that like one team's going to screw it up. Like that's the only reason why I didn't list it as one of the top 10, but I think you're probably going to win that one.
Yeah, I just think it makes sense. I mean, we always see a guy go in the third round at quarterback that we're kind of like, what? How did he make it there? Just because teams need quarterbacks and don't want to risk people trading up on day 3. I mean, CJ Beathard and Cody Kessler stand out as 2 guys that were like maybe late round picks that people picked in the third round. So I could see Hurts, who I think is more talented than both of those guys, or at least has a higher ceiling, being a better pick there. I also have one other prop that I just want to bring up because we were talking about it. You mentioned how the Arizona Cardinals have, upgraded their offense in free agency with Hopkins and the 2 tackles. Bovada has a prop on them for offense or defense with their first round pick. And offense is currently minus 300 and defense is plus 200. So I think I might like defense on that because they may be in position to have like Derek Brown or Jeff Okudah, one of the top guys available there, unless they end up going offensive tackle. So that's another one that I like.
That's another one I like too. So there it is. I like that. Yeah, I definitely like that as well. I think it's more than 50-50 that they go defense. Like, obviously, they can go offense. They can maybe take a tackle if they love Wills or someone like that, or Becton, whatever. Maybe they love Lamb, and they just want a 4th receiver, even though they already have Fitzgerald and Kirk. Like, I don't think they go receiver, but it's a slight possibility. But I think it's more likely they go defense, and it's plus 200, right? So, why not? Like, why not bet that plus 200 when it's like a 50-50 prop? It's not one I love, but I like that a bit, and I think that's has a decent chance of winning. Let's get to some more questions. Let's say Trevor Lawrence, Fields, and Purdy were allowed to declare this year. Where would you put them in this class? Well, Lawrence, I think, would be number 1, hands down. I think Fields would be, considering Tua's injury, I think Fields would be the number 3 quarterback. And I'm not sure about Purdy. I don't know where I'd put him right now. I need to see more of him. What do you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree word for word with what you said. It would go Lawrence, Burrow, Fields, Tua, and Tua could have challenged for that number 2 spot, maybe even the number 1 if he stays healthy. I'm super big on Tua, as we've gone over week after week. And I haven't seen enough of Brock Purdy either. He kind of strikes me as a guy that has tools, but if he comes back next year and is kind of okay, he could fall out of that first round conversation. So I'd probably put him behind Justin Herbert, and I don't know where I'd rank him in comparison to Jordan Love yet.
Yeah, I think Jamie Newman is another quarterback to watch for 2021. Like, he just transferred to Georgia. I think he's going to do all there. All right, what's the likelihood of the top 4 tackles being gone by 11? So I have Tampa taking Andrew Thomas. So I do think it's possible that tackle gets past 11. We talked about how Arizona re-signed both tackles. They could still go tackle, but I think that they don't really need to. There was a report, I think it was from Peter King, but I'm not sure, that said the Browns like Ezra Cleveland, and they want to target him in the second round. So maybe they don't go tackle in the first round. So I think there's a decent chance that Tampa will get one of the tackles at 14.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a chance there too. I think Jacksonville might not go with an offensive tackle because they need cornerback help, and they might like CJ Henderson or trade down. I think there's going to be better defense on the board for them. And I just don't – I have trouble slotting all 4 tackles in the top 10, even though they're all worthy. I think the Cleveland point you bring up is a really good one. It's also worth noting that they had interest in Trent Williams last year. And Williams is still on the block. I still don't get why the Redskins haven't pulled the trigger on a deal for him. It's going to happen sooner rather than later, I would assume. But maybe they get to that second day of the draft. They grab Cleveland in the second round. Then they call up the Redskins and say, like, hey, we'll give you a 3rd and another pick for Williams. And then they're all set at tackle. So I could see them doing something along those lines too. Or if Cleveland comes off the board early, they have contingencies.
Yeah, Trent Williams kind of like it's kind of a nice segue into this question. What veterans are going to be traded on draft day? Where do they go? Yannick Ngakoue, I think, is definitely going to be traded, maybe to the Giants or something like that. I think that Trent Williams, like you said, you never know with the Redskins, but like he could be traded on draft day, from the Redskins to someone else. Like you said, maybe the Browns. I think maybe Andy Dalton, maybe Mitchell Trubisky is traded because the Bears just got Nick Foles. So like, what are the Bears going to do with Trubisky? So if someone likes Trubisky enough to give up like a 5th rounder, maybe the Bears take it. Anyone stand out?
I think Ngakoue is obviously the big name. I think that the Seahawks would be an ideal landing spot for him. If you think about it, their first round pick at 27, like they could go with a guy like Yetur Gross-Matos, whose name I still have trouble pronouncing, or AJ Epinesa. But if they have a chance to trade that pick for Ngakoue, they will almost certainly do that. Because if you look over the course of the past decade in Seattle, they've made about 5 first-round picks. They've traded out of all the rest of them, or traded them for guys like Percy Harvin. I don't remember who else off the top of my head they traded first for, but they've done it in the past. So I could see them considering doing that. But Ngakoue and Williams are probably the big ones to watch. I think Ngakoue would be most likely to be moved. I would be interested to see Trubisky move. That would be kind of, if he landed up somewhere else, maybe he would come to New England. I highly doubt they would trade for him, but that would be interesting in my mind.
That would be interesting. How crazy, how salty would Bears fans be if he turns his career around and does well in New England? Couldn't imagine. I don't think Bears fans would ever recover. That would be horrible.
That would be tough for sure.
Yeah. And Kenny says Walt hasn't left his house in 5 months. No mask needed. Kenny, I went to Miami. Come on, I haven't left my house in 2.5 months, not 5 months. So yeah, this is kind of like not affecting me too much. Like normal day life, but yeah, it's definitely hurting the website with decreased ad sales. So all right, let's get to some more props, and then we'll answer your questions at the end, because there are a bunch of questions. So let's finish out these props. Like what else do you like?
Okay, let's see. This is one of my longest money ones. It's Jordan Love over 19.5 at minus 145. I don't see a landing spot for him in the top 20. I don't really see a landing spot for him in the first round unless someone trades up. So I love the over there. I would bet pretty heavily on that, because who would need to jump up into that range to get someone? Because you're talking about, if a team needs a quarterback in that first round, it's probably the Patriots that they'd be wanting to jump over. But I don't even think the Patriots want Jordan Love. He doesn't fit their prototype. So that's one of my favorite ones. And sticking with the Jordan Love one, this is another team-specific draft prop. I have the Colts drafting him at plus 400 as one that I like, because they have 2 second-round picks, I think at 34 and 44, or some numbers like that. They could be the team that jumps up into the end of the second round, or end of the first round, rather, and grabs Love. But if no one wants to, or if no one's moving up for him, I don't see him going in the first round at all.
Yeah, that's another one I have. It's over 19.5 minus 145. Like you said, it's I can't find a spot for him in the first round. I have him going to Atlanta in the second round. I don't even like that fit at all. Like Matt Ryan's 35. Yeah, maybe I could see like a situation where the Falcons like love Jordan Love, and like they just want to take him. And second round, we seen the Patriots like they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round when Brady still had several years left. We saw the Eagles draft Kevin Kolb in the second round when Donovan McNabb had a couple years left. So it's not unprecedented for Atlanta to do this. I don't love the fit, but I can't find a good fit for him. You mentioned the Colts, and I've seen him go to the Colts in like almost every mock draft, because it's like I feel like it's the most logical fit. But they just signed Phillip Rivers, and I feel like they need to give Rivers as much help as possible, like a new receiver, some help on defense. Like they're in it to win it this year, like Jordan Love doesn't help them do that. Like I could see them taking a quarterback next year, but with Rivers there, it just doesn't make sense to me. And like Jacoby Brissett is also still there. Like he's still a young quarterback. They might want to groom and like have him learn a year behind Rivers and like have him take over after next year. Even he's going to be a free agent, but still like maybe they re-sign him. So yeah, that like everyone has him to the Colts. I just that's the reason why I haven't mocked him to the Colts, because I don't like that situation. I just think it's a bad strategy for them.
Yeah, no, I totally get the argument there. My argument to play devil's advocate to you is that the Colts seem to be ready to win now. They have some holes, obviously. The number 2 receiver hole, they could fill that. And there are a few other pieces on defense. They could stand at a real top-tier pass rusher, some help at linebacker, and some in the secondary. But my logic would be, because both Brissett and Rivers are on expiring deals, and Rivers may retire after this year, it would be, I think, a good investment to go for a guy like Love, and develop him for a year, and then possibly have him take over as a starter the next year, or if he's not ready, bring back Rivers one more time or bring back Brissett. But if they're still believers in Brissett, which they might be, I don't think it would be Love that they would take. They'd probably take a mid-rounder in this draft, maybe a James Morgan type. So I think you could go either way with this one. I may not actually bet on the Colts to draft Love, but I just don't see any other real fit for him. So I might just put like a quarter of a unit on that just to see if it happens.
I think the bottom line is if they're enamored with Jordan Love, they're going to take him, right? If they think he's kind of like okay, like he's a decent guy, maybe he'll be good, then I don't think they will take him. So I think it comes down to how they feel about him. All right, I'll do one. This is a slightly highly priced one. It's minus 320, but I think there's a very good chance it hits. CJ Henderson under 16 and a half. You know, there's talk that Henderson's going to go in the top 10. Charlie reported it. It seems like everyone loves Henderson. I know Dallas loves Henderson, so I think they can move up for him. I know Minnesota loves Henderson. I think that's someone they can move up for because they lost 3 corners in free agency. I think the Jaguars are a good spot for him. I think the Niners could take him if both receivers are gone and they don't want to trade down. Tampa, if all the tackles are gone and they don't want to trade down, they could take him. Denver, if Henry Ruggs and the other receivers are gone, they could take a corner to replace Chris Harris. And Atlanta, it seems like the most obvious spot for him. They lost Desmond Trufant, and I was looking at their depth chart and like I don't know any. Well, I mean, I know Isaiah Oliver, but like the other corners Atlanta has on its roster are just terrible. So I think CJ Henderson under 16 and a half, minus 320. I know it's a high price, but I think it hits.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that one. I would think it hits too. I don't see a way he gets past Atlanta as much as I love Bleedy Ray Wilson, who was a corner that played at UConn and is on Atlanta. I think he was drafted by the Titans, but I'm like showing off why I shouldn't be allowed in public because I can remember these things. Also, we talked about the Panthers corners earlier. Their current starter on one side is Corn Elder, who has one of the best names in the NFL. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I think CJ Henderson will be the second corner off the board. And I think he's going top 16. It's hard to envision a situation where he gets past Atlanta. Like something monumental would have to happen for all those teams to pass on him.
Yeah. Do you think Corn Elder's parents are disappointed that he didn't become a farmer? Like, just like name them to be that.
Maybe he's a farmer in the off season. I don't know much about him, but that's a great farmer name for sure.
That is true. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know his background or anything. So that could be possible. All right. Do you have some other props?
Yeah. Let's see what else I got on here. I have Seahawks first pick offense at plus 145. I know it's been like pretty popular to mock them to take a defensive end pass rusher because the value's good there. I can see them going offensive tackle though, so I kind of like that one a little bit. I don't know if Josh Jones would make it to their pick, but he's the type of guy that I think they could target as a right tackle. He made it there in my mock. I don't know if it ultimately happens. Isaiah Simmons is the second defensive player drafted is plus 140. I think he'd only really have to leapfrog Jeff Okudah to make that happen. I don't know if it will, but I think that's not bad money for a solid price. And then one more, Chargers drafting Tua is plus 160. They were plus 230 when I checked on this, I think a week or two ago. So that the odds are evening out a little bit, but I still think that they have a good chance of landing him. And it seems like Miami prefers Herbert. So if not the Chargers, who's it going to be?
Yeah, I think so too. Those are pretty good ones. Yeah, I think the one I wouldn't bet is Seattle offense. I think they have to address their edge rush or defensive tackle. Like their defensive line is just like ravaged by offseason departures. I just think they have to go that route, and like we've seen them not address offensive line for some reason.
That's true.
So like maybe they finally do that. But if it's not offensive line, like where do they go? Did they take another running back in the first round? Like I don't think so. Another receiver. I think they take a receiver in like day 3. But not in the first round. So I think it's more likely that they take edge rusher or defensive tackle. Concerning Seattle, I was hoping to find this prop. I couldn't find it. Was like, will Seattle trade down? And like, I was hoping to get the yes, but I didn't see that. I think it's like almost a lock that Seattle trades down. Like, first of all, they always do it. And second, they have a ton of needs. So I think that definitely happens.
Yeah, no, I would think they would trade down or trade the pick for Yannick Ngakoue. That's one thing I'm curious about, though. If they traded the first round pick for Ngakoue, would that not count as their first pick and then their next pick would be their first official selection. That's the one thing I'm not clear about with these props, but I would think it would be the other way around. But yeah, no, I think you make a good point. I probably won't bet on that for Seattle, but I guess if I was running the Seahawks, I would take a right tackle because I don't want to watch Cedric Ogbe start. Please don't make that happen. I don't want Russell Wilson to get killed this year.
One of these years, he's just going to go down because they don't address the offensive line. It hasn't happened yet. Somehow he hasn't missed a start. Unbelievable. I think that's crazy. I do hope they improve the offensive line eventually, but I'm not counting on it happening. So are you done? Those are all the props you have?
Yeah, I think so. Unless I missed one. Let me just check my list.
Okay. Well, while you do that, I have two more.
Okay.
So third overall pick, Justin Herbert plus 750. I think, like I said before, I think the Lions trade down, and I think the Chargers move up. Maybe the Dolphins, but I think it's the Chargers. And I haven't taken Tua in my mock draft, but I think it's definitely possible that they like Herbert better. And plus 750 just seems like a great number. Like, just throw a little bit on it, and hopefully it hits. So I like that as a great value bet. My other one is we mentioned this guy earlier, Cole Kmet, when we were talking about Troutman. Cole Kmet over 44.5. He's minus 190. I just don't see a tight end going in the top 44. And if so, I think it's going to be Troutman. But I really don't see a tight end going in the top 44 picks. So Cole Kmet over 44.5 seems like a great bet to me.
Yeah, I love the Cole Kmet one. I mean, it's possible no tight end could go until the third round. So why would you expect one to go on the top 45 picks in this draft? So I considered putting that one on here as well, but I didn't want to get too tied up in tight end bets because I don't want to care that much about tight ends this year. But inevitably, I'm going to end up caring too much about the tight ends because every team I ever cover needs a tight end.
That's true. More Faves points out your CJ Henderson prop is available at minus 150 at Heritage. For some reason I forgot to check Heritage. They're a great sports book. So yeah, thanks for the heads up. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get to some of the lingering questions that we had. Let's see. Tony says Bill O'Brien picks Hurts to replace Watson. If the Rex Burkhead trade is involved, I could see it happening. And he said, I picked 40 to pour salt in the wound. Yeah, I could see Bill O'Brien doing that. Rod says, asks, what corner do you have behind Okudah and Henderson? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I have my corner rankings dropping at NBC Sports Boston this week, and I want to say that I have Trayvon Diggs at number 3, but I might have Christian Fulton. So let me check that, and you can give your answer while I do that.
Okay, yeah. I think that Diggs has a decent chance of being the third corner. I think AJ Terrell does too. I know that Damon Arnett is just he's a first round prospect. If it wasn't for some off the field issues, I think he'd definitely be the number 3 corner. And I think if some team is just willing to forgive it, I think the Chiefs kind of stand out as because they drafted Marcus Peters before. I think they're a team that could take Arnett. So I would say Arnett is my number 3 just based on talent.
Yeah, Arnett's actually much lower on my board. I have him at 10. That's just like how I see it, though. I think he's probably going to go earlier than being the 10th corner off the board. He could go in the first round. Diggs is my number 3 guy officially. I had him and Fulton pretty closely linked. I think I have a first round grade on Diggs. I like his upside. I like his potential. I like his length. I like that he has like the NFL bloodlines thing. I know that doesn't always matter. Casey Matthews will tell you that. But you know, I think he's going to be a really solid corner for whatever team gets him. And I actually have the Chiefs taking him in my mock. So we'll see if the Chiefs take either of our number 3 corners.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers' brother can say that too.
Jordan Rodgers from Vanderbilt. There it is.
Yeah, so that doesn't always matter, but it sometimes does. We have more Bill O'Brien. He trades Watson for Jalen Hurts. Just Hurts is not even on a team right now. Just trades him to Alabama or not Alabama, Oklahoma for Jalen Hurts. So I think that'd be interesting. All right. What are your thoughts on the Memphis edge rusher Bryce Huff? I think he could be steal of the draft. Have not watched Bryce Huff really in preparation. Do you have anything on him?
I have not watched him much at all. And by at all, I mean, I don't think I've watched him. So I will go back and do some homework on this, Luke G. And next week, I will let you know what I think of him because always like hearing about sleepers. So if you think he can be the steal of the draft, I'll definitely check it out.
Nice. Your dad says you are starting to rock a Bill Walton 90s, 70s Portland Trail Blazers look. I think this quarantine has done a number on all of our haircuts.
Yeah, I can't really get it cut, and I won't let anyone else cut it for me if they're not a hairdresser. So, yeah, I'll be looking like Bill Walton for a while here, but I'll try to rock it as best I can.
Yeah, speaking of Trailblazers, I have a Trailblazers t-shirt on, so that's very fitting.
Wow, that worked out well.
It did, yeah. Jordan Love to the Saints. So this is something I've seen people speculate. Will the Saints take Jordan Love? I don't think so, but what do you think?
I don't think so either. I think they really like Taysom Hill, and I know people laugh at that, but people who laugh at that haven't watched him play in the preseason. Like, he can do a lot of stuff, and maybe doesn't pan out. And I know he's on the older side because he went to BYU and had one of the missions interrupt his career a little bit. But he's still like just 30, and he can, quarterbacks can play into their 40s. So they're probably willing to give him a shot. I just don't think Jordan Love's going to be the pick for them.
Yeah, I like Taysom Hill. I think, watching him in the preseason each year, he's gotten so much better, and he looks like a legitimate quarterback. I think they want to give him a chance to succeed, Drew Brees. So I don't think they take a quarterback early, maybe late, but I don't think they take one early. And thanks to Yohan for saying thumbs up for the stream. Yeah, that would be appreciated. What would your bet be if there is going to be a 3-team trade during the draft this year? That's not something we see too often in the NFL. We see that a lot in the NBA, but not the NFL.
Yeah, I think someone in the comments earlier said that it would have to be something along the lines of plus 1 million. I don't think it would have to be that high for me to take a chance on it, but probably have to be around like the plus 10,000 mark because it just never happens. You're more likely to see two separate trades like we saw when the Eagles traded up once and then traded up to get Carson Wentz. I think they did that year, right? Not me.
It's super rare to see something like that. So yeah, I would not bet on it unless it's plus 1 million. Sure, why not? Throw $1 on it and try to win $1 million. Yeah. All right. Jacob, you're a Packers fan, and Luke is a Lions fan, so he's not a fan.
So I'll say this: I'm a Packers owner, and I picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl in 2011 when they did. That was my first official Super Bowl prediction, so I have a soft spot for them in my heart. It collects the Packers memorabilia. That's a Jerry Kramer signed helmet, and a little bit to the left, my prized possession, a Bart Starr signed football. But I do not dislike the Lions, and I am a Matt Patricia fan. I know you may not like Matt Patricia as much, but he went to Amherst and UMass, so he's around here. I do root for the Lions, though. I like them. Probably my second favorite NFC North team.
I love the signed memorabilia. I have some. I have an Aaron Rodgers signed helmet. I would. There's room behind me. There's no like shelves or anything. I'd love to, eventually have something like that. That'd be cool. All right, if those two are gone and the Vikings get their pick of the litter, I could see them taking Gladney with one of their 2 picks. I've seen people high on Gladney. I've seen Gladney in the first round of some mocks. I've seen Gladney in the 4th round of some mocks. So these corner rankings are all over the place. I feel like some teams are going to love Gladney and some teams are be like, this guy sucks. But I feel like that's normal for a draft. I'll give you an example. Deshaun Watson, obviously he was the 12th overall pick in the 2017 draft. I know some team told me that they had a 3rd round grade on him, and this is a team that had a quarterback, so they had no reason to lie to me. They had Watson in the 3rd round. So teams don't always have the same opinion on players.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I've seen Gladney. My co-writer at Rigo's Rag, Ian Cummings, is high on Gladney, and he had him in the 1st round of a joint mock that we did together. I think there was some betting odds on Bovada for Gladney, and it seems like he's likely to go in the 2nd round. I actually like his skill set enough. I think he'll be a solid contributor, but I think he's more of a 2nd round prospect. I just think he doesn't have the size, and while he has the ball skills, I don't know. I think they'll translate, but I wouldn't take him in the 1st round, if that makes sense. But the corner rankings and receivers typically after the 4th receiver ranked are all over the place.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I feel like the Vikings could wait till the 2nd round to get their corner. Just seems like there's better value there. Andrew says, I want to see Diggs go to Minnesota and win the MVP against the Bills. That'd be something. We are actually in a reader mock draft where people can vote on the picks. People voted for Trayvon Diggs to go to the Vikings at 22, and it seemed like half the voters are like, no, this makes no sense. They're not going to take a Diggs brother I don't think they will either, but that would be fun at least.
Yeah, I was livid when I saw that he was leading in that poll. I forget who I voted for in it. I might have voted for Austin Jackson, but I was like,
Yeah.
I had the exact reaction you just said. But maybe they're just like, you know what, didn't work with one Diggs, but maybe this Diggs will be good for us.
I just think people wanted to see it. Like they just want to see it happen, and I don't think it will happen. But crazier things have happened. Will says Okwara and Chason are overrated. Greenard is underrated. I think an edge rusher who is underrated is Josh Uche. I think he has a chance to sneak into the end of the first round. I'm going to have him in the second round of my next update, but I think there's a chance he goes late first.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I always like Michigan edge rushers. Well, at least the last 2 years. So I like Uche too. I loved Chase Winovich last year and thought that he could sneak into the first round. Of course, he went in the third. But Uche is definitely a guy I like, scheme versatility, good rusher. So I could see him going higher than expected because this isn't a particularly strong crop of edge players outside of Chase Young.
That's true. So Anthony asks, where do you have Cameron Dantzler ranked? Is he a first round pick?
I have him ranked as a second round pick. He's 7th on my corner board. I've debated for far too long where to put all the guys from like 5 to 10 on my corner rankings. But I like Dantzler a lot. I think he helped himself out with his pro day 40 time, which was not accurate because he ran a sub 4.4. I'm sure that was somewhat doctored, but if you split the middle on the two, you get what his actual play speed is. That's how I'm approaching these extra 40 times where they're not really at a pro day. So, take it with a grain of salt, but I like Dantzler's skill set, and I always like guys who play in the SEC and do really well. So I thought that he deserves a shot at being a second round pick.
Yeah, with these social distancing guidelines, like I feel like with no one at the pro day, like I'm just waiting for someone to come out and say like, "Oh, I ran a 3.8 in the 40."
Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I should do a pro day and I'll doctor it to make it look like I was like this insane athlete, and everyone will be like, "What is this? Who is this guy?"
I benched 225 85 times. Like, no big deal. One-handed. That'd be amazing. All right. Another question for you. What is your prop bet if the Dolphins trade Xavier Howard during the draft, and which corner should they draft to replace him?
I don't think they'll trade Xavier Howard. They just recently signed him to an extension, and I know they signed Byron Jones, but if you look at the model that Flores is putting in place in Miami, it kind of is mirroring what the Patriots have done on defense, which is not a surprise because he was the Patriots defensive coordinator, but he's trying to build up as much secondary talent as he can, or at least a corner to start to build that defense. And yes, Luke, you do hate Matt Patricia. I knew that was true. So we have like kind of opposite rooting interests here, but it is what it is. Still appreciate all your stuff and questions. But if the Dolphins did trade Howard, which again I would say is unlikely, I think they'd probably wait until the second round to go after a cornerback and just take kind of whoever's the best player on the board. That could be we talked about Dantzler and Gladney. Jalen Johnson could be on the board. Noah Igbinohene from Auburn's another guy who could be a second rounder. But I really highly doubt that the Dolphins will move Howard unless I'm completely missing something on that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. But, if they do, they have tons of options, as we discussed. Gross Matos has been compared to Daniel Hunter. Do you think the Vikings will take him in the first? I think he's definitely an option. They need an edge rusher with Hunter gone, or Everson Griffin gone, sorry. So they need to replace Griffin, and they have 2 first-round picks, so they can make it happen. So I think I have a feeling that one of the picks is going to be on offense, the other is going to be on defense, and I think they probably go tackle and either defensive end or defensive tackle.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. My mock had them taking a corner and a safety, but that was only because Xavier McKinney was falling too far, and I needed to get him off the board. Gross Matos definitely would make sense for them. I'm just wondering if they'll trust. I know the Vikings fans that I've talked to on Twitter, like Ifeadi Odenigbo, a lot. I don't know if he's starter material, but he's at least a good rotational player. I kind of am thinking they go offensive tackle and cornerback just because they've lost so much talent there. But can't rule out defensive end. Anytime you have 2 picks in a 4-pick span, they'll have an opportunity to kind of control that portion of the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and obviously, it really depends on who's available. Like I'm sure they'll go best available player who fills some sort of need. So that'll dictate what they do with their two picks. Which Gettleman wins out? Protect the legacy with Jones with tackle, or take a shiny toy with Simmons? I think it's definitely gonna be tackle. What do you think?
He loves his hog mollies. He's got to go with the tackle. I feel like it's like my brain is like take the biggest guy, so he would go Mekhi Becton, but I think he goes Wirfs because he's super athletic.
Yeah, I think he goes Wirfs as well. All right, can the Ravens get a very good receiver at 55, or should they move up in the second round? They have the ammunition. They have so many draft picks, but they can get a good receiver at 55. They could probably get a good receiver at 85. Not that that's their pick, but there's so many good receivers in this class. I don't think there's a need to really trade up for a receiver unless you're moving up for like Lamb or Judy.
Yeah, I would agree. And that 55 spot might be a spot where Chase Claypool's kind of in play. I know both you and I like him as a sleeper, and he might go before then. But if Claypool was still on the board at 55, having another big-bodied Notre Dame guy would be pretty great for the Ravens.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what about the Patriots trading with any team, Tooney for a second or third plus a tight end?
I could see them trading Tooney. I was kind of surprised they tagged him. I didn't expect that. I would prefer to keep Tooney because I love offensive line play and because it's the most important predictor in success. And that's why the Cleveland Browns were bad last year because they traded Kevin Zeitler and didn't do anything about their tackles. But if they're going to trade Tooney, trying to get a second round pick, I think would be the right price for him. I think they're more likely to trade down in the first round to recoup some selections. They could even trade down twice and just make like 2 or 3 second and third round picks. They have like 6 picks from, I want to say like 80 to 125, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, they have to trade down. They don't have a second round pick, and it seems like that's a Belichick thing to do, is to just accumulate resources. So yeah, I think they do trade down, but I could see them trading Tooney for a second, like you said. Do we know who Dov Kleeman is on Twitter? He announces the draft picks apparently. I think team reporters always announce draft picks. If you follow certain people, you can get each team's draft picks if you want. That's something you're into. That's actually helpful for me because I get to grade the pick as I hear it on Twitter before I hear it on TV. Because if I waited for it to be on TV, I'd be so behind. So like the Twitter thing helps me out a lot. Like I know it kind of takes away the shock value, but I kind of have to scurry during the draft.
Yeah, it's the ultimate, like, if you're not writing about the draft, or if you have draft night off, like I had draft night off last year, I will stay off of Twitter except my own account to tweet things. But if you're writing about it, like that's like a saving grace of being like, yes, I have 3 minutes ahead of the pick to get this graded. So, but yeah, people just find out because their sources will tell them. Kleiman's definitely one of them.
Yeah, it's great. Pittman to the Ravens seems like a good fit, or Claypool. Yeah, I could see Claypool in the second round. There's so many receivers the Ravens could take. Who do you think fits the best need in round 2? Another Pittman thing. Yeah, I think there's so many receivers you can just plug into different teams in round 2. Which player falls unexpectedly in your opinion?
Oh, this question is always so tough to answer. I'll give you one that I have trouble with in my mock. I don't think he should fall, but I always have trouble figure out where to put Javon Kinlaw. Like I always want to put him in the top 12, and he always ends up at like 16. And in a recent mock I did, he ended up like all the way at the Patriots pick. Again, I was only making half the picks there, so I was only half responsible for that. But it's he's the type of guy who could go like 5 to 6 picks after he should, and I would consider that being an unexpected fall. There's always one in that top 25 who goes like 5 to 10 picks later than people think he's going to. So Kinlaw is my pick for that now, but I'm not particularly confident in it.
Yeah, so we talked about how the player who falls is an injured guy who we don't know the injury about, and last year was Jawan Taylor. Like I was looking at the 2019 mock drafts a couple days ago to see what people were mocking. And everyone had Jawan Taylor between 7 and 9, like everyone. And then he fell to the second round because he had an injury, and like no one knew about the injury until I remember seeing it from Bob McGinn the night before, and I think I dropped Jawan Taylor in my final mock. I believe I had him in the 20s in my final mock, but I had him 9 otherwise. So it's going to be, I think the night before the draft, if you hear someone has injury concerns, you're going to just, if you can bet on that player dropping, just do it because it's probably going to happen. All right. Let's see. We have some other questions. Winfield reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu. That's high praise. Is he going to be a second rounder? I think he's going to be second rounder. Yeah, early second.
I do too. I like Winfield a lot. Tyrann Mathieu is an interesting comparison. I could definitely see that working out, though. Good ball skills. Yeah,
definitely. So let's see. Another Dolphins questions. He wants to see Dolphins draft 2 safeties. Do you want to take this? I mean, which safeties do you think fit the Dolphins?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot similar to what the Patriots would do. I don't know if the Dolphins are necessarily going to target safeties early because they have a lot of needs on offense, and I think they'll want to build around whatever quarterback they take. But Xavier McKinney is a good option. I like Antoine Winfield for them as well. Grant Delpit's a guy who is probably going to go in the second round, but I think he's going to be a lot better than his draft slot. He could end up being a guy that becomes a really like good all-around player. So if the Dolphins are picking a safety at like 26, I could see them going for McKinney if he's still on the board, or Delpit in that early second round range. That would be the guys that I would go for.
Yeah, I like McKinney a lot there, but yeah, like you said, I don't think they take safety early. So prop bet about Love going outside the first round. So I think we both mentioned Love over 19.5, minus 145. I didn't see anything for him in the outside of the first round. Like maybe there's something available somewhere. But I think the over 19.5 minus 145 is good, and I know you agree. So yeah, I would just do that. All right, let's see if there's anything else. My bet for unexpected fall is Judy. I could see that. I mean, teams don't like Judy as much as some teams do, but I do think the Niners like Judy a lot. So I think he goes 13. But let's just say like the Niners are offered a huge trade and like they trade down, and then suddenly there's no one to take Judy in the early teens. Like I could see him dropping, although I don't think he should.
Yeah, this is one of the things that makes me like insanely angry that NFL teams do. They'll look at guys and be like, oh yeah, no, he's a great route runner, but like he doesn't have that high end athletic ability, or he's missing like these other elite traits. It's like you're overthinking it. It's the Calvin Ridley thing. It's like Calvin Ridley looked like the best receiver in that class, and he went at 26, probably could have gone top 15. I won't complain about DJ Moore going ahead of him because he's turned out to be good too. But if Judy falls to 20, I will lose my mind. But it is possible. I will concede that, but it shouldn't be.
I think Kenny would lose his mind in a good way if Judy falls to the Eagles at 21. That'd be crazy. Surprise pick in the first round. I mentioned Uche. I think Uche goes to Seattle. How about that?
I think Isaiah Wilson, the tackle from Georgia, sneaks into the first round. I know Charlie's reported that some teams really like him, and that he, in a normal tackle class, would probably be on the rise. But as we've talked about, redshirt sophomores get overlooked, but I think he might be a guy on the rise. And if Josh Jones and Austin Jackson are off the board earlier than people expect, I think that Wilson might be one of the next guys.
Yeah, I can see that. What would Jamar Chase be the receiver one in this class? I think Justin Ross would be the receiver one in this class. What about Chase though? I think he'd be neck and neck with Lamb. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we'd have like a 3-horse race for that top receiver spot. We wouldn't be talking as much about Ruggs because, the nature of things is you tend to have like 2 or 3 guys tops at a position. You occasionally see 4. We had the 4 quarterbacks last year in a weak class, and we have the 4 offensive tackles this year. But I think Chase might well be the number 1 receiver if he was in this class.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance. But like I said, Justin Ross is going to be the number 1 receiver next year. Last question. It's true that the Dolphins need a line help, but if they think Ezra Cleveland will be their early second, they could forego the position in the first round. Yeah, I mean, they have 18 and 26, so it's not like they have a top 10 pick and are expected to take a tackle like the Browns. So like the Browns could forego a tackle and take Cleveland, which would be like more dramatic, but Yeah, the Dolphins could definitely do it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you could always do they can get this position later, but at the end of the day, you got to weigh like what's on the board in front of them and what's their biggest need. The Redskins, when they took Daron Payne, that was like a really good defensive tackle class, but they didn't want to risk other teams swooping in and getting the guys they liked. So I think if the Dolphins like Josh Jones or Austin Jackson at 18, I don't think that they'll pass on him just because they might be able to get Ezra Cleveland.
Yeah, that's true. And one last thing, why didn't Devontae Smith declare from Alabama? There are a number of players who could have declared. I don't think Smith is at the top. I think the running backs who went back to school, I think that was mind-boggling to me because running backs are so fragile, and like I could see like one of those guys unfortunately go down with an injury, and it's like what are you doing? Like, why didn't you learn from Bryce Love's mistakes? Like, Bryce Love was a fringe first-round pick, like maybe a second rounder, and he went back to school. He went back to Stanford, and his career is just basically ruined.
Yeah, now he'll be trying to make an impact in the Redskins backfield. But yeah, I agree. Devontae Smith could have come out. At least with him, he's now going to be the number one receiver at Alabama this year. Well, Jalen Waddle's there actually, so he'll be one of the top two receivers there. I still think that he'll do well. Maybe he'll play his way from like a fringe first round pick into that full first round range, but you can make an argument either way for him.
Okay, and last one for sure. Simmons overvalued? ? I don't think so. What about you?
I don't either. I think versatility and athleticism is at a premium in the NFL. So if you can get him, you'll figure out how to use him.
Yeah, not just that. He's great in the locker room. He's a team captain. Like I think teams like that a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I moved into the Lions pick is just because the Detroit's a team that values team captaincy a lot, and I think that could put him over Okudah, who was not a team captain. Not that Okudah is a bad character guy by any means, but I think Simmons could get the slight edge there because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be looking to build a locker room culture this year because if they can at least do that, that may buy Matt Patricia some more time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that is it. Do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, I've got some of my prospect rankings over on csportsboston.com. I have, I believe, tackles and quarterbacks published. My fellow writers also have some rankings published on there, and check those out. I have corners coming later this week, and I'm working on a top 150 big board for the site. That will hopefully drop on Friday, if not over the weekend. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to check out my work, follow me on Twitter at Jacob Kamiker. I'm always down to talk football. I'll be doing some more mocks throughout the rest of the next 9 days before the draft. Do some remocks and some grades too. So should be a fun draft season. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't believe it's only 8 days away. And like I said earlier, check out Jacob's mock draft. It's a great read, I thought. All right, you can go to waltzerfootball.com. We have updated 2020 NFL mock draft today, an updated 2021 NFL mock draft from last week, and I think I'm going to try to make another update. And I'm currently working with Corey Long, who does our college recruiting. I'm currently collaborating with him on a 2023 NFL mock draft. I don't know anything about these players outside of their names, but Corey does this. He follows these guys, and he's going to provide like blurbs for me, and it's going to be a cool collaboration. So I'm going to try to get that up by Monday. So definitely look out for that. And obviously, we're going to have draft grades for every single pick. So check out waltzerfootball.com and hit subscribe and share this with your friends who like football. So yeah, that would be amazing if you guys do that. Otherwise, I will talk to you later. See you later, Jacob.
All right. Talk to you then. Bye.
All right, bye.